everybody. Welcome back to Accepting Reality. I'm here with Jake again. How are you doing tonight, Jake?
Good.
All
How are
right.
you? How are you? How are you?
Bracing for War 3. How about you?
Oh, are you getting drafted?
No, I'm ineligible because I can't see. Are you
Oh,
getting drafted, Mr. Heart
sorry.
Problems?
Um, well, the hard problem has kind of been fixed, so I think
You're
I'm
going
on my
to
way.
you're going to war? You going to
Yeah,
Taiwan? Ukraine?
I'd probably rather go to Taiwan. Well, I don't know.
If you better
I'll
in
just
Taiwan.
train people. How about that?
You'll
I'll
come
be
in
the
as an entry-level trainer.
yeah. I'm sure that they got something for me. Don't they get paid though a lot of money if you're active duty? Don't you get paid like tax free, like 4,000 a month or something like that?
It's something like an active duty bonus. Yeah, especially if you're overseas. I think there's a thing to it, but I don't really know. I have few of my wife's family friends, they were all in the Marines at one point, or no, I think they were all in the Army and now they're in the reserves or something like that. One of them was still active duty. He was in Tennessee for a while, then I think he was in Kentucky. But yeah, I don't know. He says he makes a decent amount for just like keeping tabs at a base, like right now they're not doing anything.
I'll
So
look this up. You got married? When did you get married? Wait a minute. Let's see. How much do you make active duty? I'm gonna figure this out real quickly before we start. Let's see.
how much you get when Jake gets drafted, his new career.
This is a list of the typical pay for military ranks from entry level Army privates make 20,000 a year to Air Force generals bring home 189,000. You're an Air Force general and you make less than $200,000 a year.
Yep.
That stinks.
Yeah, there's so many more jobs that you don't have to risk your life. You can
But
make.
although is that tax free?
I don't know. I would assume not, but I don't know.
I thought I remember watching one time Judge Judy. I remember
Judge
watching a show
Judy.
one time, and the guy he said that, or no, it was his wife or something, and she owed a bill, and the guy was like for her landlord, and the landlord was arguing that she had the money, and the judge asked her how much her husband, and he was in Afghanistan, sent home, and she goes 4,000 a month tax free. So that's where I got that number from. And that was way back when, I don't know, 2010, 11, 12. So
Yeah.
who
Okay.
knows where
Well,
it is now, but
maybe. Well, I don't think it really will matter if we go into World War III, and that was what we wanted to talk about to start. So, since we last recorded, Russia, led by Mr. Vladimir, President Putin, whatever you want to call him, he said, we're going into Ukraine. And he originally said, and I love this quote, we're going to demilitarize and denazify. The last one was interesting. Denazify Ukraine. I didn't know
Nazify.
the Nazis were in Ukraine, but
I don't
you
think
know,
they know that they're in Ukraine.
so he started that, I think, on was it like the 2-2-2-2-2-2-2 day or whatever.
Wasn't that, did he go in on a Thursday?
Ah,
Why do I
I
want to say Thursday?
yeah, maybe it was a Thursday, but yeah, he and
Early
now it's been
morning,
been going
right?
on what for like 2 weeks now. The fight's been going on
About two
almost.
weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And they still haven't taken the capital city. I know they took Chernobyl. That's smart. Let's start shooting and blowing stuff up by the most dangerous nuclear reactor in Europe. Nothing
Right.
bad ever happened in Chernobyl.
No, no one's there. I don't even
But
know why they care.
yeah, that was pretty cool when you sent me the pictures of Chernobyl. It looks like time just stopped and whenever everybody left and like it just
Yeah,
slowly decayed.
they, I mean, so it's 1986, and it's they just left. They had to, and
Yeah.
it's like there's the famous scene, the famous picture is of the Ferris wheel, and there's a Ferris wheel that's just in the middle of the city, and
Yeah.
it's just overgrown now because nobody's been there for what are we on, almost 35 years, a little over 35 years. So yeah, they just left, and just things are there. Teddy bears are just on the ground.
It's
It's
pretty
spooky.
crazy. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
ghost town.
it really
And
is.
I thought it was funny. Everybody was freaking out when the Russian forces took Chernobyl. And then the next like thing on Twitter I see is breaking news. Higher levels of radiation have been detected at Chernobyl after the Russians secure it. And I guess a like nuclear scientist came up and said, well, the nuclear radiation um like around the area because of them kicking like the radiation is in like the dirt and the leaves with because of how much
Okay.
overflowed. So when the
Right.
Russian soldiers came in with their tanks and everything, they were kicking around the dirt and the leaves. It was sending radiation into the air.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
they are like people are genuinely thinking that like 20 years, the people that were there like last week are gonna have like cancer or something like that because they just were exposed to such high radiation.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I know that around Chernobyl there were markers, definitely markers that would ban people from going any further at risk of radiation poisoning because it was too much. The levels were off the charts. I don't know how much your body can take. But I do know that people say that there was a coalition of people in America that were arguing against cops who would try to be catching speeders
Uh-huh.
because the clocking gun, it uses radiation, and they were saying that
Oh, yeah, it's radar.
it being pointed at you through a car while you're going 70 miles an hour is enough to apparently give you too much exposure, but who knows?
I
But
don't I don't
yeah,
buy
crazy
that one.
stuff going on there in
Hmm.
Ukraine.
And then been tons of propaganda on both sides. Like we're not taking a side here, but I can't tell you how many pictures did we see at first that were like, oh, that's fake. Oh, that you know what I mean? Like they were debunking them as they were coming out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like that's people don't I guess I kind of know because I studied some history that every side uses propaganda. Like even we did it in the Revolutionary War. Like the USA was making propaganda and cartoons and stuff like that to give the Americans, the patriots, some morale boost. And it's the same thing
right.
here, but it's not exactly pretty. I know they said a few cities got bombed, a few apartment complexes were bombed. So
Yeah, the videos of what's going on, people. I mean, it's I haven't seen as many now. I saw a lot in the first couple days because it was just so new. But the amount of crazy videos that you would see is it looks like a movie. It's
yes,
just people in their house, and then they just see like 15 helicopters fly by,
uh-huh.
and I can't even imagine being there. I can't even imagine looking out your window. But the one video was this lady was in her apartment and she was recording, and a jet is flying towards her and fires a missile in the apartment next to her, and it's like
Alrighty.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
So I gotta ask, do you think this is because the Western foreign policy was so lax? Do you think this was because Putin just wanted the country back? What do you think about it like from a political side of it? Obviously, war is never good. Like it's never gonna be good for the innocent lives that are lost. But what do you think? Why did Putin do it now? Was it about NATO? Was it about nuclear weapons?
I don't know so much about it being nuclear weapons. I think NATO had um, a big reason to it. I think that there is something to be said about Russia is justified only in, like, I'm not saying that what they're doing is good at
Yeah,
all, but
treading water thin here.
but no, I think that they do have a point of invading if they thought that they were if they felt like they were in danger with the
Hmm.
possibility of Ukraine going into NATO. That's no excuse just to invade a country, because I think, what are we? When was the last sovereign nation to invade another? I think is
It
it
was
into Poland or
Mr.
France?
Adolf, yeah, going into Poland. That was the
Yeah.
last time it happened.
So
So,
obviously you have to be a special kind of person to do that. There's a reason it doesn't happen in the last 80 years. But I also think that they did have a point if they were afraid of what was going to happen. Now, that being said, I think the big thing is I don't think anybody really knows why he did it. There's no one reason. I think there's a bunch of reasons why he did it.
because
Um,
that too, yeah.
but it's just, I think one of the reasons why he felt like he could do it was because of uh, the mess of an administration that we have in President Biden,
Yeah.
and that Putin felt like there was no way that they would be punished for anything that they did, and which is being shown because even a couple of days before the invasion, I mean, they were saying that Russia has however many thousands of troops right outside the border
Yeah, they were
of Ukraine,
lining the border. Yeah.
and Jen Psaki and Biden were like, we'll see what we can do. We'll see about the sanctions. We don't feel like it's the when is it the best time if it wasn't then? That's my question, and they don't have an answer because they're not the brightest people. But I think that the opportunity came and Putin took it because he felt like there were going to be no repercussions, and we are where we're at. I do think though that Ukraine is putting up a heck of a fight that I did not think that they were going to be able to do. I thought that would have been taken care of a lot quicker. And the funny part is, I think Russia did too. So now,
yeah,
it's difficult because I think if you're in a situation where you invade a country or you do the first move, you kind of have to hope, like, you don't want it to plateau, because the more you plateau, the longer it goes out, the worse it is. So
don't let them breathe. Yeah,
right. You don't want them to pick up their own slack. You don't want them to feel like that they have hope and try to get their bearings and everything. So I just think it's interesting how it's not what they thought was going to happen. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor why Putin did this is they obviously, like every country, sanctioned them like pretty obscenely, like the amount
Right.
of things, but none of them took away their oil. Russia's number one export is oil. And he saw that America, now this is not a conspiracy theory, so I swear if YouTube comes after us, but in 2018 and 2019, we were almost, it was either 2018, we were completely independent, or we were very close. And in 2019, we were independent and actually was a net export of oil and natural gas in America. So we were completely like self-reliant for energy. And that's a hard thing to say.
Sure.
So then, President Biden comes in. The Democrats don't like the, pipelines and fracking, which is what President Trump allowed. He encouraged it. He deregulated it to a certain extent. And now we see, I don't know, what's gas by today? We hit 4.59 by my wife and I. We're in a suburb of Chicago. So
I think for me, I just felt, I've been trying to cheat it because I've been thinking to myself, if I don't, it's going to go down at some point, maybe even a little bit. So I'll buy 3-4 gallons at a time, but now it's at 3.80.
Wow.
Which around here is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. So
did you see it was $5.70 in some parts in California?
Yeah, it's the first time it's been $5 in 40 years or something. Not 40 years, but that rate of increase is the highest it's been in 40 years. So it really is Jimmy Carter all over again.
And people don't realize that as long as Putin gets his number one income still coming in, he has no reason to stop the war because he still has all this revenue coming in. So why would he stop? His number one export is oil. And now, conveniently, our good friends in China, Xi Jinping, I know they're listening to us, they said that they will now be an exclusive trading partner for Russia's wheat industry because Russia, their second biggest export is wheat. Not many people know that. So now China and Russia are becoming best buds because that's what you want. You want two powers run by authoritarian dictators to join forces. Nothing bad ever happens of that. There's nothing.
Yeah. The thing is that you have a situation where you have China and you have Russia. And the thing with China and Russia is that I don't think that they're crazy enough to want a war. But the problem is that if you start to become good friends with people, the rest of the world is going to think of it as, well, they're just getting ready because in case a war happens, they've got each other's backs. But I don't know. They're going to try to do as much stuff as they can under the table without people, becoming too overly concerned about it as much as they can. And then once they cross that line, because no other country wants a World War III, so no other country is going to put their foot into things. That's why they're all supporting Ukraine by only messages. They're not sending really that much aid. They're not sending troops.
Obviously, stand with Ukraine. Well, they're sending money and guns. I mean, they've been doing that.
Yeah, but they're not gonna go any further with any other kind of aid because they know that once they do, well, then the rest of the world's like, oh well, okay, here we go. Now there are
Yep.
clear sides. There are clear.
Lines have been
they got
drawn.
two teams. They got two
Yeah.
teams. Yep, everyone's got their own players. We have enough
Yep.
players to play. Right now it's three people on the basketball court, and they're trying to play 5-on-5.
Yep.
So once they get a couple more players, then now we got a game.
Game on.
And,
Yep.
and nobody wants to play that game. At least not right now.
Do you think China takes Taiwan soon? Maybe a couple months, maybe next year. Do you think that happens sooner now that Russia has proven that you can invade and there will be no retaliation from the
I
West?
think that China will. I wonder. I have a feeling they might try to wait to see what happens in Ukraine before they. Because I think they don't want to do anything in Taiwan until they know that Russia is strong enough to be there, to be with them. Like, I don't think that they're going to say, okay, we're going to go into Taiwan regardless of what happens in Ukraine, because what if Ukraine now comes and puts up a good fight and Russia depletes a lot more resources than they really wanted to, trying to stay afoot in Ukraine, even though they should take it. But like their Air Force is 10 times the Air Force of Ukraine, but somehow they haven't taken the skies. I mean, it's
I heard they just did the other day.
Oh, they just did. Okay.
Yeah, I heard they just took air superiority. I believe I got that from
over the capital.
Yes, they got it over the cap. Like Jack Posobiec, he's an insider. He does a podcast and he's pretty big on Twitter. He was a former Navy intelligence officer, so I follow him, and he says that the State Department believes that Russia has full air superiority. So,
okay, well, even after a week and a half, 2 weeks,
yeah, that's bad. Yeah, Russia doesn't look very strong right now. I was talking with someone, and yeah, they don't look like a superpower. Like they should have ended this in like 5 days. But
no, this is not Russia 1942 who are just marching and they don't care what anybody does to them. They're definitely not as strong as people thought. They're more bold than I think some people thought, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And that's one thing. Do you know who Tim Pool is? He's a YouTube podcaster.
I don't think so, no.
He's been more popular lately because he was pretty liberal. And then in 2020, he said that the left has gone so far left that I can't be a part of him anymore. So he tries to stay more moderate, but he's pretty conservative now with his things. He was talking on his podcast. I thought this was a good point, that maybe Putin didn't respect President Trump, like the media said, but he was sure as all heck scared of him.
Oh,
he was absolutely afraid that that he tried something, Trump might just blow something up, because he sounded a little bit unhinged. I mean, he said on a national stage that if you take Ukraine, I will bomb Moscow. I wish I had the video loaded up that we could share it, but he actually said to Putin's face, he looked him in the eye and said, I will bomb Moscow. So that's just a crazy person talking, and that kind of scared him.
Well, what is the story with Putin? Putin and George Bush, their dogs. You ever hear that story?
No.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something where George Bush, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was George Bush had Putin come to the White House or something. Like Putin was in America and they were visiting, talking to each other. And I don't know what George Bush's dog's name was. Let's just say Oscar.
Astro.
So it's Oscar, and so Putin likes dogs. Putin's like, oh, I got a dog, and they're talking about it and whatever. And then like a few months later, maybe even a year later, George Bush goes and visits
Russia?
Moscow.
Yeah,
he goes to Moscow, and he said they are like walking around and they see Putin's dog. And the first thing Putin says is, he goes, that's my dog so-and-so. And he goes, he could rip Oscar to shreds or something like that.
Of course.
That's his mindset, is that he, after a year, remembered the name of George Bush's dog, only to think of how his dog would dominate that dog in a fight. It's
That's,
just
that's
how
an
he thinks.
authoritarian. That's how he is.
Yep.
And that's why when people are like, I just can't believe we would still do that. I'm like, why? The guy is a dictator. Like, if he has a chance to seize more power, that's what he does. Like,
Exactly what he does.
I didn't expect anything less, like evil people do evil things. And I was talking to somebody and they're like, then they were trying to say I was pro Russia. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just said that this is what happens when a strategic leader has a chance to seize power and resources. He's going to do it. He's
Yeah,
not going to think twice about it.
it's all throughout history. I mean, even if you're good, bad, just conquerors are. That's their very nature. I mean, what is the quote about Alexander the Great? That he, what is it? That the only time he wept was that
When he
when
conquered
he
everything.
when there were no more worlds to conquer.
Yeah.
So it's this is how it is when you're that kind of personality, that competitive type of personality where you think that everything is yours and you can get everything. And once you again have that opportunity, you're gonna take it.
Yep. Well, we will see what happens in Russia and Ukraine. If anything major unfolds, we'll be sure to cover it. Yeah, it's just really sad. Obviously, anyone, innocent people who get in the way of of the war, pray for them and their families because it's ugly. Even, doesn't matter what you think about the politics of it, it's still a war. People are still shooting, people are still, launching missiles and bombs, and it's horrific. Some people, they see it and they can never live, they can't live the same. Like their
Yeah.
brain gets so messed up from it all. So
It's interesting though that like you have you have Europe,
yep.
and the amount of what's the word I want to use? The amount of fighting that they've gone through over the last several hundred years is just incredible. Like
Yeah.
the United States obviously is not anywhere near that, but you just have a country who's just almost destined to just get into
Fights, yeah.
fighting every 50. I mean, have they ever gone a period of 80, 75 years without any kind of conflict with each other?
I don't think
mean,
so.
Over how long? I mean, they've always got something going on.
I mean, that's where both world wars took place,
Yeah, I mean, you always had there was always just some conflict with somebody. French Revolution, you had the whatchamacallit war with Prussia. I mean, you had the conflict even in China. I mean, China, Japan. I mean, they've always been at war with each other. Nobody could get along for more than a couple years.
That's why we have two oceans around us, and we have a bunch of weirdos up north and Mexico.
You're talking about Canada?
Yeah.
What do you got against Canada?
I'm nothing against Canada. I mean,
they make maple syrup.
I mean,
what's your problem?
Their
free
prime
healthcare?
minister is a dictator. Oh yeah, that free healthcare.
Free healthcare. You
That
stand
5-hour wait time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're gonna get taxed 50% just to pay for it, but it's free.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yep. I remember. Here's a good story related to that. So in college, they had a few foreign exchange students, and I went to this like networking event where you talk to some professors and some local like business owners and stuff like that who are connected to the school to come back. So it's just like the time to mingle and get information to try to get a job. So I'm sitting there and we're just sitting down eating dinner, and a girl on the tennis team sits next to me, and she's from Germany. 100% German, from Germany.
Okay.
She only came here to play tennis, right? And to get a business degree because it was a business event. So she was there. And I asked her, I said, so you've lived, she was a junior in college like me. So she's been here for 3 years. I said, so you lived in America for 3 years. What are some pros and cons? Because I'm biased, I've only lived in America. I can't. So she said she really loves the spirit of people in America. Everyone seems like such a go-getter. And that's funny. Most people say that. But she said some of the things that she won't, she really misses is like the free healthcare because she had to get health insurance through the school. And then she said, in Germany, college is free. So then I asked her, I said, if all that was free, why did you come to America? She's like, well, because, because I have a better chance in tennis here. And so there's your answer. If you want to chase your dream, you come to America. It's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That conversation always will stick with me.
So now, even though Germany has like what she said was free healthcare, it's not free.
It's not. I
The
know.
thing is that people, it's not free. They don't understand the background of where that money's going. Like, you can't give
Check.
people services for free without getting some kind of compensation to begin with. And where's that compensation coming from?
You
It,
just through your taxes before it
so
gets
it's like,
taken out of your paycheck.
especially healthcare, it's so expensive. And you have like,
Industry. You have.
you
I'm
know,
sure you see the prices.
billions of dollars. Oh yeah, I mean, listen, you could have a doctor come in for 5 minutes and tell you, yeah, you have a cold. Take some
Nyquil.
Nyquil or whatever, and then your insurance is gonna get billed $300 for that. So I mean, it's like, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. There
Yeah.
are things that obviously you're gonna pay for that are worth it, but just on average, an office visit for a specialist might be $500.
Yeah.
An MRI stress test might be upwards of four, five, $6,000. If
Uh,
you're going to therapy, you got inpatient services, and then they're going to pay, $2,000 every week.
yep.
But I mean, and you're in there for 17 weeks, and you had a surgery that costed. I mean, it adds up, and that's only one person. You could have one person that
Uh-huh.
has hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills
Well,
in a matter of 6 months, and that's free. I don't think so.
I a relatable story. I had jaw surgery. I mean, you know this. I had jaw surgery when I was 20, so 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
And we got the bill, I'd say like a month later. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe my dad got it earlier, but I was like on pain pills, so I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It was like $40,000 for
Oh
the
yeah.
surgery. And then I stayed overnight. Like it had to be, it was just one night. I left at like 11 a.m. the next day.
Yep. You get discharged early because they
I
want
think
to
it
make
was
free the bed.
40,000. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, healthcare is a lot like any other business. It's the same. It's the same thing. Like if you're going to a restaurant,
Yeah.
and the restaurant you can stay as long as you want, essentially, but the restaurant wants you to leave because they want to turn the table because they want somebody else to be there. Same thing as
Money.
healthcare.
They want,
If
they want
they
some.
feel like you are good to leave, you got to go, and
Yep.
they want that bed to be open up for somebody else, and that's
Yep.
just how it is. Because
Yeah.
a lot of them are going to be nonprofit, and their tax benefits. I mean, you could say to this, but their tax benefits are going to be amazing. The more people that they serve, the more people they can deduct from. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on.
They're not for
So,
profit. They don't pay taxes. So,
well, no, I'm saying nonprofit people, but they also have companies that like external private businesses
uh-huh.
from healthcare service that provide healthcare services that may have privileges at a hospital that
Oh, okay.
is um,
Non-profit, non for
yeah.
profit. Yeah.
So they may bill from a nonprofit facility, but their services themselves
Or they're a
are,
for-profit
yeah,
business.
exactly. So it's just not, it's never going to be free. And it just kills me how people like they want, they're like, we want free healthcare.
Yeah,
You, you ask them how you going to pay for it. Where's the money going to come from? And they have no answer. They have no idea.
and it's proven that the healthcare gets worse. Now, here's a question for you, and this is just a straight up conspiracy theory because I heard it in
Okay.
actually a song I was listening to, but it's healthcare related, so we can kind of just segue this. It's a loose connection, but it's a connection. You know,
Is the song uh I went sky diving, I went
uh,
Rocky Mountain. Remember in the beginning he goes, I got my x-rays.
yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually I've been big into this guy now. It's gonna be weird to hear it from me, but he's a rapper. He's a hip hop artist. And his
Okay.
name is Tom McDonald. That's his name. He all of his
Yo,
music,
Tom McDonald.
Tom
Break it down.
McDonald. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I really like his music. It's all he does a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but some of his songs have political messaging. Like he did a single this past in January, and the title of the song was New World Order. Like it was
Okay.
rapping about, what the politicians did with COVID and what the politicians have done with the vaccines and what they did with the wars and how they're dividing us because they want to start a new world order. And he has a bunch of other songs like that. Well, he has one of them and it's titled Cancer. And I looked it up.
Okay.
He lost his grandma to cancer. She had leukemia like 3 times or something like that.
Okay.
And, or I'm sorry, that was his grandfather. His grandmother still has leukemia. His grandfather died from cancer. And in the song, and in one of the verses, he raps that there's a cure for cancer, but they refuse to make it because it's $100 billion industry. Do you
Yeah.
think that there's any credence to that conspiracy theory that maybe we have treatments for cancer we're hiding because there's too much
W-
money?
Well,
And again, just
you can
speculation.
you can you can have cancer and you can get it can be you can go into remission.
Yeah.
So it's not like there absolutely is nothing,
Yeah.
but it's hard to say that. Well, guys, I guess there's two sides to it. Okay, the first side I would say is one where I would be for that would be how many billions and billions and billions of dollars in research money do you see? Like, I mean, it's not hard to think about all the millions of commercials and organizations that say that we've raised $30 million for breast cancer research, and I mean that's been going on for however many years.
Yeah.
So you have trillions of dollars put into research and you haven't found anything yet. Okay, there's that, but it's also like, would they ever get rid of that? I mean, healthcare is run by people who want it to be a business, but
Yep.
it's provided by people who essentially care for people.
Yep.
So insulin is really expensive. Okay, if it's all about healthcare and healing patients, then the insulin would not be so expensive
Yep.
because you're giving access to people
It's something they
that
literally can't live
need
without.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same argument that would they, if it was up to the doctors, sure, because the doctors have to go through that spiel of going and telling people and getting close to them and creating a relationship only to have them pass away 6 months after their diagnosis.
Yep.
So yes, I could see it being where there would not be a cure, or they wouldn't announce it or distribute it, because why would they? And also because how could there not have been one found by now?
That's
I mean,
that's what I think is that with so much money and time invested and the ability of our innovation, I'm just surprised there isn't anything more advanced than chemotherapy and radiation. That's
yeah, and there's a lot of doctors that these are the ones you kind of have to be worried about, because they'll tell you things that don't fit well with the rest of the medical community. But there are doctors that will tell you that, okay, people that have cancer, a lot of them drink coffee and a lot of them drink pop and a lot
yeah.
of them drink an excess of bad foods and they don't have a plant-based diet, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And they'll tell you that if you do get rid of all this stuff, you're going to have a better chance of beating cancer. And it sounds crazy, but I don't know what the studies are on that. But yeah, it's like, how could there not be something by now? You
Yeah.
would have to think, you know?
That's and I it was funny. I thought about that years ago, and actually one of my college professors peddled that he believed that there was a cure to cancer that they were hiding for money.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I didn't hear it again until I listened to that song. And I highly recommend, even if you don't like hip hop, like he just released a song that's called In God We Trust. That's a really well-made song, and
Uh-huh.
it's appropriate. Some of his songs, fair warning, use language, and it tells you that right on the cover. So if you don't want it, don't listen to it. And then there are clean, there's some songs that are completely clean, but like some of the lyrics he uses are really, really good. And he has obviously already been canceled. Like no record label will sign him, so he has to do it all
Yeah.
independently.
Independently,
Um,
yeah.
so stuff like that always attracts me when people aren't afraid to say the things that most of us think. Like most of
Sure.
us have had to have thought that, yeah, there could possibly be a cure,
Oh yeah.
but they're hiding it for financial interests. Or most of us
There's
had to think that the media is intentionally dividing people, to create tension because that sells on the TV.
oh yeah, there's a lot of medical people that I know, not even that work at the place where I work, but that just in general have talked about that.
Yeah.
That there's something that they're not telling people. And it's just how it is. It's just a business. And in that sense, you can't fault them for it. But
Yep. Well, I wonder if you could, if you knowingly suppress that cure, I feel like people would want your head, you know?
well, it would have to be there's not one major medical organization that controls all of
Like,
healthcare in the United
yeah.
States.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
now you're talking about a situation where, okay, if that's true, if there is a cure, is it, did one company come up with it and they're the one that's hiding the secret sauce? Is it divided up between all the major healthcare? You know, there's only about 4 or 5 major healthcare organizations. Are they all hiding it?
Yeah,
Then
that's a
that's,
good point. Yeah.
you know, I don't know. The more you get down that road, the crazier you sound. So it's easier not to do that. Say
Oh,
that, but
you,
I don't know.
I think we're pretty crazy to begin with. I mean, we just talk.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know. Cancer is definitely it's a large business, so it would make sense.
I'm just looking it up here. It looks like as of 2020, there was $90 billion pledged to cancer research since like the last 40 years.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to not make any progress
That's
or
crazy.
major progress.
Yeah, even if it was better than just because if I'm not mistaken, chemo is just poison. I could be dead wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know a lot about it. But like, okay, for instance, and I don't know anything about this because I could be wrong, but there is, from my knowledge, pancreatic cancer
Yep.
is something that is in your body for years and years and years before you know you have it.
Yeah, they can't detect it. Yes, I've
Right.
heard this.
So how has there not been any kind of detection system to, I mean, you would think it would be worth it for somebody to make some sort of, and this could be a thing, I don't even know. I could sound like a total idiot, but you would think there would be some kind of scan that would be required or that your primary care doctor would recommend you get it once you reach a certain age, you know, past 21, I don't know, whatever. The scan would do your whole body.
Yeah.
And, you know, the cancer cells glow regardless of what kind of cancer they are. Now, again, I could be sounding so stupid because what do I know the difference if there are a difference between pancreatic cancer cells and liver cancer cells? I don't know.
Sure, we will get the medical field up in arms when this goes out. I'm sure
Let's
they'll
get them
come
out of
after
here. Let's
us.
go. I want to ask a question. Why is insulin
Up to
$800 a
him.
vial or whatever it is? You know
Yeah.
what? By the way, you know how much? So I was at. I won't say who this was because I won't say it, but it's kind of funny. I had somebody who who worked at an independent doctor's office in Arizona. Okay.
Okay.
It was a neurologist. Now the
Okay.
neurologist provides Botox treatments.
Yeah.
Okay, it's common for migraines and you know a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, the vials of Botox come in a case of 80. Yeah, okay, you're an
Okay.
accountant. So they
Yep.
get 80 vials of Botox. Now the Botox has to be refrigerated
Yep.
upon arrival. And they forgot to do it. Now it's not totally like out of the question that it can't be used. Luckily that they caught it about 12 hours after it was delivered. So it was still okay. But they were kind of worried. And I asked how much each vial of Botox cost. So to find out how big of a hit it would have been.
Yeah, like a loss. Yeah.
To if that had been bad. How much do you think one vial? There's 80 in this thing. Okay. How much do you think one vial of Botox cost?
Let's say about 250, 300.
2,000. So
Wait a minute.
it's a house. And
Yeah.
I argued, I said, how are there no armed security guards bringing this thing in? You're carrying a box. This little box, it looks like a cooler you take to like the kids' baseball game in July. And it's got a little piece of tape over it. There's $160,000 of Botox.
That is
and
nuts.
They just put it on here and we're like, okay, have fun. Hey, you guys do what you want with it. I mean, like, wow, I need a tracking number on this thing. I need Secret Service. I need everybody to deliver this thing. So I just like that in of itself. I mean, it's just healthcare alone is the costs are insane. I don't even know how much, in order to make a profit, they're buying it for $160,000. I don't know what they're
Lord
charging
knows what they're
for
billing insurance. Yeah.
I mean, they might do it 3 times the amount. Who knows? I mean, I remember I used to work in an orthopedic office, and the injections. There was an injection that it was a series of a few injections, and one injection was $3,000 or $2,000.
Is that a gel, like a gel based thing?
Yeah.
Because my grandpa gets that on his knee. He
Yep.
gets that for his treatment.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it was. Yep. Synvisc or Euflexa and all those stuff. I don't know. It's crazy. It's not like, I'm pretty lucky I don't get sick that
Yeah.
often. But I can't imagine the kind of people that don't have insurance and
yeah,
they
you're
got to go to
done.
the doctor. I mean, you are
You are
in
in the hole.
the abyss forever.
Well, I think that's a good place to end.
In the
If you
abyss?
haven't, and end in the abyss. If you've learned one thing from this podcast today, is that Botox is expensive. It's very expensive. Okay, it's
Get
worth
insurance.
get insurance and get a health insurance, and free healthcare is not free. There's your
Right.
summary. There's your cliff notes of today's podcast.
And
So
if you go fight in Ukraine and you
make
get
sure
out
to
of the
tweet
Jeep,
about it.
if you get out of the Jeep and you sprain your ankle, apply for disability at the VA. They'll pay for everything for the rest of your life. And you can go home and get tax-free money. You're welcome.
There you go. Well, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, DJ Media. We're also on Facebook and Twitter under the same name, DJ Media, and you can you can find the podcast on Spotify and Apple or iTunes podcast, whatever you want to call it. So thank you everybody for listening, and have a good night.